Good afternoon. This is the 14th meeting of the Civic Works Committee. Please check the city website for additional meeting details. Information meetings can be viewed via live streaming on YouTube and the city website. The City of London is situated in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape and Attawandaron people. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. The City of London is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As representatives of the city and the people of London, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. I will draw everyone's attention that there was an added item onto our agenda today under deferred matters and additional business. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact cwc@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. For everyone's information, I'm joined in chambers by Councillor Fife Miller, Councillor Van Holst, Councillor Helmer, and Councillor Van Merbergen are with us virtually online today, and Mayor Holder has sent his regrets. Looking now to the committee for disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none on the consent items, we have 3 items before us today. Would anyone like anything pulled separate? Seeing none, I will need a mover and a seconder for consent items 2.1 through to 2.3, moved by Councillor Van Merbergen, seconded by Councillor Fife Miller. Starting a speakers list. Okay, I'll note that the amendments to the traffic and parking bylaw are routine, as is the stormwater management remediation consultant award and the DC background study for a consultant. Last call for questions or comments. Councillor Helmer, please proceed.
Thank you. I just wanted to say on the 2025 transportation development charges background study, I think it makes a lot of sense to have the same firm that's doing the master mobility plan work lead this. They're obviously very closely related, and I think there's a lot of efficiency in having the same firm take on both of those projects. So I support that.
Thank you. Councillor Van Holst, did you have your hand raised as well?
Yes, thank you. And just through you to staff. So the choice of IBI as our consultants, and I agree, there's certainly efficiencies there, as Councillor Helmer pointed out. But in this instance, that was this a choice made from a number of applicants for this consulting work, or was simply a choice based on the points that have already been made?
Thank you. To staff, Mr. McRae.
Yeah, through the chair, IBI Group was hired through a competitive process initially for the Mobility Master Plan. It involved a shortlisting of consultants from a request for qualifications and then a subsequent request for proposals. And then the additional phase being awarded today is directly to IBI, in that it's we've confirmed that the pricing remains consistent with their initial competitive proposal, and supported by the fact that there are significant both efficiencies with respect to the correlation and the synergies between the two assignments, and also with respect to schedule and keeping the development charges process on schedule, and in that it minimizes any delay time transferring information from one to the other.
Thank you. Councillor, a follow-up?
Thank you. Perhaps staff could remind us of the magnitude of the cost for the original mobility master plan, just so we can see the ratio of fees.
To staff, if you have that information with you today.
I don't have the exact number, but it's in the order of $900,000 for the mobility master plan work.
Okay, Thank you. Counselor, are you satisfied?
Yes, this is a small portion of, or a reasonable portion, maybe 25% or so of what was what was the big project they worked on. So I think adding this amount seems fine in this way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looking to committee if there's any further questions or comments in regards to the consent items 2.1 through to 2.3. Seeing none, calling the question.
I'll vote yay, Madam Chair.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Under schedule items, I have none. Items for direction, there's none. Deferred matters and additional business, we'll deal with these ones separate. 5.1 being the deferred matters list. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Counselor Fife Miller, seconded by Counselor Van Holst. Looking to see if there's any questions or comments on the deferred matters list. Seeing none, calling the question.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
As to item 5.2 in your added, it's a communication from Counselor Van Holst regarding roadway improvements at Hamilton Road and Highbury Avenue. Counselor, would you like to introduce your topic?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll note that there's been a number of fairly severe accidents at Hamilton and Highbury recently. And of course, some of that may be the result of poor or irresponsible driving. I would note that we did plan to make improvements to that intersection. They were put off to 2029, and I'm wondering if we can have our staff report back to the committee with some options to either advance the timing of those improvements to the intersection or report back with some potential measures to reduce the number of or severity of the accidents in the interim. I do have a motion prepared. However, in speaking with staff, it looks like the end of 2022 might not be attainable. So I would like to amend that motion that prior to the end of Q1 2023, staff be directed to report back to the CWC committee with options to advance the timing of improvements to the intersection at Hamilton Road and Highbury Ave, along with potential measures to reduce the number of severe accidents in the interim. So that would be the motion I hope to put on the floor so that it becomes attainable. I understand there's only one Civic Works meeting left before the end of the year, and if I'm to ask staff for something unattainable, then I would certainly try to do something much bigger than this. So if I could put that motion on the floor, I would look for a second.
Thank you. So the motion is on the floor. The wording is exactly the same as what was pre-circulated, just with a Q1 2023 as a deadline as per staff's request. I see a seconder in Counselor, you have two. We'll go with Counselor Van Merbergen. Looking for any questions or comments? Counselor Helmer.
Thank you. I don't really have any problem with a report going back to CWC, but the timing for this growth capital project is set out in the budget. And so I wonder if the first place to be talking about it is actually in the budget discussions, which will be happening. So I thought it might be helpful to ask through the chair to staff whether there's any realignments or timing changes proposed in the upcoming budget updates that you want to talk about now related to this project. And if not, I might suggest to Councillor Van Holst that suggesting something for discussion in the budget update might be the most important thing to do at this point, to have a discussion about that. Potentially if, there's a broader discussion that needs to happen, maybe it's CWC next year and then the budget update the year after that. But I just wanted to ask about it to see if there's already any timing changes.
Mr. McCray?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. The project proposed at the intersection of Hamilton and Highbury is a growth project, so DC funded, and therefore the timing is as identified in the current transportation development charges background study. And the councillor is correct in that it is identified as 2029. So the creation of the next background study is, and that's the item that is under consideration, consent item number 2.3, the creation of the next development charges background study for the new bylaw in 2025 is when this project and all the other growth projects will be considered as far as timing and priority and slotted in to an annual program.
Councillor?
Okay, well, I don't think there's any harm in having a report come to CWC next year if there's enough time for staff to turn something around, and that can inform that future discussion about the DC bylaw and the timing of all the growth capital projects, including this one. So I'm happy to support this motion from Councillor Van Holst.
Thank you. Looking to Councillor Van Holst, as you're the final speaker on the list.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and my gratitude to Councillor Helmer too. Is an excellent suggestion. I did want to ask just about this transportation to development charges background study. So this will be considered, and because it's a question that might come up this afternoon, changes to, for instance, River Road. That would also be discussed in this study, would it? So all of those, any of those changes would happen in this transportation development charges background study. Is it fine if I ask that question?
Just one second, as you are discussing other committee business to happen this afternoon, another committee at Civic Works.
It just the answer to the question might save our staff attending that meeting.
If staff could give a brief, concise answer as
Yes, thank you. The development charges background study process considers growth related projects. So it's going to build from the current DC background study, and we'll also consider what the mobility master plan creates, and recognizing that project is sort of midstream, and it is a process that then directly feeds back into the budget process that is coordinated through FP&P, financial planning and policy.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Councillor Van Holst, you are the last speaker.
Yes, thank you. And just if I could, so both the Hamilton Road would be considered in this process, potentially after this request to send about Hamilton and Highbury, and also previous requests about River Road, they would go to the same place and the same.
Councillor, you're talking about the River Road Golf Course?
No, I'm calling improvements to
the road intersection at River Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
The road is.
Mr. McCray, both will go and be part of this DC charges changes study for 2025?
The current development charges background study does not have improvements to River Road identified. The assessment of all individual projects will be considered based on their growth characteristics.
Councillor Van Holst. Okay, well, Madam Chair, I'm not going to belabor this point anymore. I'll at the meeting this afternoon, River Road Golf Course is coming up, and of course, development along that does have to do with the state of the road as well. So I'll ask about that this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Final call for questions from committee. Okay, so this is on the counselor's amended motion with the Q1 2023 date for roadway improvements at Hamilton Road and Highbury Ave. Calling the question.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for working through that. At this point, I would like to thank committee members for another year of dedicated service to the Civic Works Committee, to staff that have joined us in chambers and outside of chambers supporting us, and to my wonderful Vice Chair, Councillor Fife Miller, for his service as well. That brings us to adjournment of our last official meeting of the Civic Works Committee. I would need a mover and a seconder. We just hang out, which I'm also good with. Councillor Fife Miller, seconded by Councillor Helmer. Calling the question. By a show of hands, all in favor of parting ways? The committee clerk has said we're good to go. I wish you a wonderful day. And some of you I will see this evening as it's the Shine the Light on Women's Abuse kickoff in Victoria Park. Have a good day.